When a group of teenage girls dressed in shorts and tank tops recently boarded an Israeli bus, the driver forced them to move to the back of the bus and cover up with scarves.
There were ultra-Orthodox men on the bus, and as soon as we got on, they looked away from us. We sat there not knowing what was going to happen. I felt humiliated and helpless.
These kinds of incidents are not new, but they have become increasingly common as the ultra-Orthodox community and political parties gain more power in the current government.
When we think about what the end game is for the religious parties, it's hard to avoid the conclusion that what they're looking at is a woman-free public space in all forms. I mean, we're seeing, just over the past week, we've had a lot of erasures of women's faces and ads. We had, for the first time, ultra-Orthodox men slashing the tires of a public bus because there was a picture of a woman on it. So that's like a whole new level of violence.
The increased challenges to women's rights by the ultra-Orthodox led thousands of women to protest on the streets of Israel's mostly ultra-Orthodox city of Bnei Brak. Many held signs proclaiming gender equality, and some women engaged in arguments with ultra-Orthodox men. The women say they object to attempts by the conservative ultra-Orthodox to impose more restrictions on liberal, secular Israeli society. The ultra-Orthodox religious establishment already controls many civil issues like marriage and divorce, and ultra-Orthodox parties in the government now want to expand their influence even more.
I hope that religion and state will be separated and everyone will be able to live his life the way he wants to live without using the power of religious.
Women's rights activists have been prominent during the 8 months of protests against the current far-right religious Israeli government. Women dressed in the red robes of the dystopian novel and TV series The Handmaid's Tale have been marching in many of the demonstrations, expressing fears about the government's intentions to limit women's freedoms.
This is the most misogynistic government we've ever seen. The coalition members of this government, reading through the coalition agreements, we can see they have very grave intentions of harming women's rights. And I can tell you, as one who have been fighting for women's rights and against specifically gender segregation in the public sphere, that we are witnessing one of the most concerning moments in Israel's history for women's rights.
Until now, women's rights activists could count on the Supreme Court to fight against gender discrimination, but they worry that the current government's plan for judicial overhaul that is aimed at weakening the Supreme Court will now make that harder. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.